All right, let's just jump right in with a big one. What if you woke up one morning and bam, you could understand every single language on Earth? Perfectly, instantly. I mean, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? But the actual fallout from something like that, it would be so much deeper and honestly, way weirder than you probably imagine.
I mean, just try to picture that for a second. You walk outside, and suddenly the world doesn't need subtitles anymore. You hear the grocers speaking Amharic, you catch an Urdu poet on the radio, you overhear a Guarani elder talking to a river, and none of it is just noise. It's all music, and you get every single note. We're not talking about some clunky translation app on your phone, you know. This is the real deal. Native-level fluency, a complete shift in how we even experience being human.
Okay, but before we can even begin to unpack the consequences, we have to get on the same page about what language actually is. Because if we skip that part, honestly, we miss the whole point. So let's start there, with this dream of understanding.
So here's the thing you gotta understand. Language isn't just a big dictionary we use to label stuff. No way. It's more like the operating system for our reality. It actually shapes the world we see. It builds the rules for how a culture thinks about, well, everything. Time, relationships, what's important. It's the scaffolding for our entire worldview.
Take Quechua, for instance. In that language, the grammar literally forces you to say how you know something. You can't just make a statement. You have to specify, did you see it with your own eyes? Did somebody tell you about it? Or is it just common knowledge? Think about that. It builds this layer of accountability right into every single sentence.
Or how about Japanese? Politeness and social status are baked right into the verbs themselves. You literally can't form a sentence without figuring out your social relationship to the person you're talking to. The social structure and the language, they're completely intertwined.
So you see, the real superpower here isn't just about knowing what the words mean. It's like you're instantly downloading an entire culture's logic, their worldview, their philosophy, the whole shebang. It's like becoming an anthropologist, but at the speed of a single breath.
All right, so that's the theory. But what happens when this power hits the real world? What does it actually do to our society? Let's dive into how just about everything would be turned completely on its head.
And the change wouldn't be gradual. It would be instant, total. I mean, everything would change. But let's just focus on 4 big areas that would get shaken up immediately. We're talking diplomacy, science, commerce, and even healthcare.
Okay, first up, diplomacy. You know that classic excuse, oh, it was lost in translation? Yep, that's gone. Forever. Every diplomat, every leader understands every single word, every nuance exactly as it was intended. Now, that brings incredible clarity, but it also gets rid of all that convenient, plausible deniability leaders love to hide behind. Suddenly, disagreements are crystal clear. More honest, for sure, but maybe a lot harder to smooth over.
Then there's science. Oh man, progress would just explode. It's like we hit the fast-forward button on Discovery. Imagine a researcher in Thailand being able to read and understand a new medical paper from Spain, like the second it's published. A scientist in Brazil could collaborate in real time with someone in Finland. All those brilliant ideas trapped behind language barriers, they'd all connect, mix together, and spark a wave of innovation like we've never seen.
And what about commerce? Global trade will get so much more personal. Think about a local artisan in, say, Oaxaca. She could talk directly to a buyer in Seoul, explaining the story behind her work in her own language, no middlemen needed. But here's the catch. That lack of friction works both ways. Yeah, opportunity goes way up, but so does the potential for exploitation. Scammers and predators would become incredibly persuasive, wouldn't they?
And of course, the arts. My gosh, think of all the poetry, the novels, the plays that have been called untranslatable. Suddenly, they're not. We could experience the full power of a Russian poem, the intricate wordplay of an Arabic story, the deep cultural resonance of a Japanese haiku exactly as it was meant to be felt. It would be a global renaissance, a flood of masterpieces finally unlocked for the whole world.
But it's not all a utopia, is it? This kind of perfect, total clarity, it has a shadow side, a really dark one. See, getting rid of language barriers doesn't mean we get rid of walls. It just means we'll get scarily good at building new kinds of them.
And that leads us to this massive paradox. On the one hand, hey, this tech could be the savior of endangered languages. Suddenly, a tiny language becomes globally accessible and viable. Awesome, right? But here's the flip side. If everyone can understand, say, English or Mandarin instantly, what's the economic incentive to keep teaching your kids the local language? Convenience could just lead to a massive cultural flattening. Which way would it go?
Honestly, it's a total toss-up. It would come down to what we choose to value.
And new dangers would pop up almost overnight. I mean, think about it. Linguistic privacy? Gone. Slang and coded language that communities use to stay safe? Instantly understandable, and therefore, monitorable. Propaganda could be weaponized with terrifying precision, tailored to every single person. And for spies and intelligence agencies, the whole game changes. They stop trying to decode words and start analyzing everything else. Metadata, who's not talking, the timing of messages. The subtext becomes the new code to crack. It really forces us to remember what language is for. It's not always a bridge trying to connect everyone. Sometimes it's a door with a lock. It's there for protection, to keep sacred knowledge safe, to create a space of solidarity. This kind of instant fluency threatens to kick all those doors wide open, exposing everything that was never meant for the outside world.
And all of this brings us to maybe the deepest, most personal part of this whole idea. We've talked about society, but what about the self? Because let's be real, hearing all the words is one thing. Actually listening, that's a whole different ballgame.
I mean, you know this, right? Think about sarcasm, or flirtation, or the way someone talks when they're grieving. So much of that isn't in the dictionary definition of the words. It's in the tone, the pause, the look in their eye, the history you share. You could get a perfect literal translation of what's said and still miss the entire point. This technology doesn't magically solve human communication, it just makes all that subtext the only thing that matters.
So what does this do to you, to your identity? People who speak multiple languages often say they feel like slightly different people in each one. Well, imagine that, but for everyone, all the time. You'd become pluripersonal. You'd feel the different ethics and values of all these cultures pulling at you inside your own head. Your sense of self wouldn't be a solo performance anymore. It'd be more like you're conducting a massive, sometimes chaotic, choir.
Which brings us to the final problem. When we've completely automated comprehension, what's the one thing that's left? What becomes the most precious resource in the world? It's simple. Attention. Our willingness to actually pay attention. In a world of infinite, perfectly clear noise, the biggest challenge isn't going to be understanding the words. It's going to be finding the will to care.
So that's the question we're left with, isn't it? This amazing technology could give us the power to hear every single voice, to bridge every divide. But just hearing, that's the easy part. The real work, the human part, still has to be done by us. So if we could finally hear everyone on the planet, would we actually bother to listen?